Today we'll be focusing on fertilization. But before we begin, I want you to take a look at yourself. I know you can do that right now because we don't have mirrors right here, but we do have them at home and we do remember how we look like. You have noticed the changes in you, how grown you are, how tall you are, and how beautiful you are. Now, imagine the person you were 10 years back. You were just a young child who wasn't aware about a lot of things happening in their surrounding. Probably you were in primary school. Then you go 5 more years back. You were a little baby who just graced their parents with their presence. Or maybe you were just a toddler. Okay, but the big question is, before that, where were you? I mean, you didn't just pop up in your mother's womb, did you? So, this brings us to today's lesson, fertilization. What do you understand by the term fertilization? Fertilization. Fertilization is the production of a new offspring or a new individual through the union of a sperm and the secondary oocyte, which will then form a zygote, the first cell of that new individual. Do we all know where does this sperm and oocyte come from? Just to remind ourselves, what term do we use for the process where sex cells are synthesized, and how do we refer to it in males and females respectively? Now, let's talk about the sperm cell. The sperm cell is made up of a tail, the middle piece, and the head. The tail is used for motion, the middle piece contains energy-producing mitochondria, and the head contains the acrosome. We will find out what is the acrosome in the next phase of the lesson. Here's a diagram of a sperm cell. Memorize it. Just make sure you know it because it will appear in the exam. On the left hand side, it is a microscopic picture of sperm cell. It is just there to show you how would sperm cells look like in real life. It is not really that important. The one on the right with annotations, that is the one you need to focus on. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you know it. Make sure you can draw it. Let's get to the content of the lesson. As we all know, there is what we call the sperm race, where 300 million cells are deposited to the female reproductive system, but only one sperm cell will be able to fertilize the secondary oocyte. So let's dig into it. When the sperms are fully matured, they are deposited to the female reproductive system during unprotected sexual intercourse. This is done when the penis is inserted in the vagina and copulation takes place. When the male reaches orgasm, he releases about 300 million sperm cells. What you need to know is that the tail of the sperm, which is called the flagella, is used to swim, and they obtain energy from the mitochondria located in the middle piece. With our knowledge of the structure of the sperm, we already know this information, but it is there to remind you because this information is crucial in the following process. The sperm cells enter the female reproductive system through the vagina. Those sperm cells, they use their tails, which are called the flagella or flagellum, to swim to the uterus. Now the real race begins. Some sperm cells may die due to the acidic condition of the vagina, while some sperm cells may survive with the help of the fluid secreted by the bulbourethral gland in the male. Now the race has begun. Sperm cells are dying because of the acidic condition of the vagina, while some survive because they have the fluid. So it is more like they are playing Squid Game. It is a swim or die mission. Like they have to survive the acidic environment of the vagina and go to the uterus. Only a few, or let me say some, will go to the uterus and some will die. The survivors or the remaining sperms swim to the uterus. They will go through the cervix. It means they are through now with the first stage now. They have reached the first lab, or they have finished the first lab, which was surviving the acid condition of the vagina. Remember, this is a key word. If you can use it, you will remember this process very well. The acid condition of the vagina. They have to go through it first, and then they will have to go through the cervix before they could reach the uterus. Now, let's see what happens in the uterus. So what happens in the uterus is that when the sperm cells reach the uterus, the muscles of the uterus start to contract. They squeeze. You know, when you squeeze something, anything that is inside it, it will come out. It will be expelled. So when these muscles contract, they send these sperm cells to the fallopian tubes. So now the sperm cells have went through the vagina and its acidic environment. They went through the cervix. They went through the uterus. Now they are on the fallopian tube. What is the fallopian tube? You can add your own definition, or you can find your own definition. I'm not going to spoon feed you. So let's see what happens in the fallopian tubes. This is the structure of the female reproductive system. The bottom part, that is darkish in color, it is the vagina. And then between the vagina, there's this pink part. The vagina and that pink part, what is between them is the cervix. The pink part is the endometrium. The pink part is like the bracket, the endometrium. What is inside them, those bracket, is the uterus. So these other two parts, which look like horns of a cow, those are the fallopian tubes. We all know what are fallopian tubes right now. So what happens in the fallopian tube is that sperms reach the egg. When they reach the egg, they accumulate around it. They then become hyperactive, as in their tails begin to beat faster and heads move laterally. Tails beat faster, heads move laterally. Now, their next objective is to reach the plasma membrane of that oocyte. Plasma membrane of the oocyte, but only one can reach that plasma membrane. Okay? Before they could reach that membrane, they have to go through the corona radiata and through the zona pellucida. Corona radiata and zona pellucida are new terms, but we are going to learn them. We are going to know them as we go through this process. So sperms reach the egg. They became hyperactive around the egg. What happened next is that they bind to the corona radiata. The corona radiata is a layer of adherent follicular cells around the zona pellucida. So what happens here is that these sperm cells, they have now went through the fallopian tube, they went through the egg. Now they reach the egg. They have to attach themselves to the egg. They have to dig through the egg to reach its nucleus. So firstly, they have to go through the corona radiata. So they penetrate through the corona radiata and they reach the zona pellucida. When they reach the zona pellucida, they bind their head tightly to it, just like they did with the corona radiata. It's like they are digging towards the nucleus of that oocyte. They want it, okay? But first, they have to go through the corona radiata, and then they have to go through the zona pellucida. When they reach the zona pellucida, they bind their head tightly to it, and then the acrosome that is located on the head of the sperm cells, it releases digestive enzymes. Never forget this one. It is also important. Those digestive enzymes, they forge a pathway for the sperm through the zona pellucida to the plasma membrane of the oocyte. Now, it is more like the final lap of the race. You need to be fast and forge a pathway for yourself. Those who watch Squid Game, they can relate, I know. So, one sperm cell goes through the zona pellucida and its head attached on the plasma membrane of the oocyte. So, after the sperm cell attaches itself on the plasma membrane of the egg cell, its nucleus enters the cell. Only its nucleus enters the cell. This means now the cells of the new offspring will get other organelles such as the vacuole and the cytoplasm from the mother. The father only contributes the nucleus. So once this nucleus enters the cell, the egg will block what we call polyspermy, which is the entrance of more than one sperm in the egg. So it does this by depolarizing its plasma membrane. So since we have a winner, the egg has to make sure that no any other sperm cell enters the cell. So it depolarizes its plasma membrane. So the sperm nucleus that enters the cell faster, it is now declared as the male pronucleus. On the other hand, the nucleus of the oocyte or the nucleus of the egg undergoes meiosis and become the female pronucleus. It is more like Mr. and Mrs. pronucleus. So the male pronucleus and the female pronucleus fuses together and form a single cell called the zygote. The zygote is the first cell of the new individual or the offspring. That is fertilization. So to see if you understand what we did today, I have formulated some exercises to test you. Do the exercises at home. I don't know, maybe comment with the answers you think are correct and I will correct you. Thank you. Bye.